Hi guys, it is 1 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. My name is Becca Tuholski with Tuholski Produce, and I'm going to be talking to you guys for a while today just about what we're doing with Tuholski Produce and also about soil health, which is what we've been talking about this week with the Soil and Water Conservation District. So should be a pretty good day today. This is my first day doing a live video. I've done plenty of videos before, but never a Facebook Live video, so bear with me. I will try to get to your guys' comments as much as I can. Hi Nicole, I'm glad you're watching. So today we are here in the Tuholski Produce greenhouse, and as you can see, I'm in a t-shirt right now, even though it's kind of chilly out. It's actually in the 70s here in the greenhouse. Even on cold days, when it gets this sunny, it gets really warm in here, which is great for starting the plants early. So we got our greenhouse last year, back in 2019, and it really ramped up our production, which has been awesome. Oh, hi Clara, she's here too, that's exciting. So I'm gonna show you guys what we've got planted right now, and then I can try and answer some questions and just tell you a little bit more about the farm. So let's see, so here we've got some rhubarb that's getting started. That just got planted back at the end of March. We've got some Swiss chard that's coming along pretty good. And kale is looking awesome over here. That was planted back at the start of March. We've got cauliflower, a couple different varieties. We have broccoli over here. And the cool thing is we're growing quite a few different varieties of each type of produce. We actually grow over 40 different varieties of things. And that's kind of what makes Tuholski Produce awesome, and a lot of small farms awesome, is that we have a lot of diversity. So we're a small diversified farm. Okay, so broccoli, got more broccoli here. More broccoli, more broccoli. We did plant a couple of native plants, so we've got some coneflowers and some milkweed coming up, so those are always a little slow to start, and I don't think they were frozen or overwintered like they really should be, but you know, we'll see what happens with those this year. Okay, over here we have cabbage, and that was all planted at the start of March. We also have red cabbage, so kind of cool. You can see the difference there in the color. More red cabbage. We have some Brussels sprouts. And then we go into a couple different varieties of lettuce here, which is looking amazing. Baby lettuce, I'm a big fan of that. Oh, so native plants, the Soil and Water Conservation District is asking. Native plants, well, you guys would probably be a better one to describe this than me, but just plants that are, I guess, native to that area, that grow well in that area, and they're great at attracting beneficial insects and pollinators to the area, so really good to plant alongside your garden just to attract those things if you're growing produce. Okay, over here we've got tiny little eggplant sprouts that are coming along. Those were planted at the end of March. And then some more rhubarb over here. And we're not done yet, we still have more. So let's see, we've got a couple different pepper varieties over here, actually a lot of different pepper varieties. So those are just starting to come up. Those were planted back on March 20th. Let's see, more peppers, more peppers. We have some tomatillos. Those are looking pretty good. And a couple different varieties of peppers. Sorry, it's really windy in here, guys, so that's probably kind of loud. And we have a lot of different varieties of tomatoes as well that are coming along pretty good. So, a lot of different stuff. Oh, we even have more lettuce planted over here. But that's not coming up yet. So I know it probably sounds like I'm in a wind tunnel, I'm sorry. I can't help that too much. But so we're talking about soil today, and why is soil health so important? In the books that we have in class, I was going through, so I teach at Kessling Middle School and LaPorte Intermediate School. I'm an agriculture teacher there. And one of the things that we were talking about is just kind of the foundation of agriculture. And I was talking about this with my 6th graders. And what it says in the book is plants are the foundation of agriculture, which is true. But I would say that really, if you're looking at it, soil is the true foundation of agriculture, because our plants aren't going to grow well if we don't have good soil. And so this is super important to me as a farmer, because if we don't have good soil, we're not going to have a good crop that year. And it also really depends on what's in your soil, the nutrients that are there. And so a lot of times, even on bigger farms, if you're driving down the road and you see a farm field one summer and maybe there's corn in that farm field, well, if you go by the next summer, maybe there's beans planted in that field. And the reason for that is because you don't want to take all of the nutrients out of that soil year after year after year. If you're planting the same thing over and over and over, that's going to draw out the same nutrients, and that's not going to be great for the plant health. So that's why we have something called crop rotation. And that's what we practice here too, even on a small scale. So where we planted things last year, we're planting them in different places this year to maintain that soil health. And so we're making sure that we're not drawing the same nutrients out of those same areas, because that's what's going to be best for the plants. Let's see, we also add nutrients into the soil. So in the fall, there is soil testing that's done. And actually my husband, Mike Tuholski, goes around and he does soil tests and takes soil samples. And they are able to send that into a lab. The lab looks at what nutrients are in the soil. And then for the next planting year, we are able to put down the nutrients that need to be added to that soil to make it healthy for what we're growing there this year. So that's kind of neat. Oh, your lettuce sprouted very quickly. That's awesome, Elizabeth. Very cool. Good to know. So with the soil health too, we add in other stuff. Like in the fall, we put down manure, which is a really good thing. And we actually also use something called Nutripel, which is kind of new. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but they actually take waste from humans and process it and put it into this little pellet, and it's totally safe to add to the soil. You can actually, you can pick it up with your hands. It's not like it's, fresh poop. It's been processed, but it's really great for the plants, and it adds in a lot to the soil. So, sorry it's loud in here again, guys. The wind kind of keeps coming on. What would be good veggies to plant in semi-shaded areas? Well, you kind of want to look at some crops that like cooler weather. Like lettuce is a crop that loves early spring and the fall because it's a cooler weather crop. So if, say, you wanted to try planting something like lettuce in the summer, you would probably want to do that in a little bit more shaded space to keep it a little bit cooler. Oh yeah, great way to reduce human waste, absolutely. Let's see, so we have been a produce business for 2 years now. We started back in 2018, and we actually only started growing on a little less than 1/4 of an acre, and now we are growing on a little bit over an acre. And we've always had a lot of diversity, but now we're ramping that up even more, which is kind of exciting. And we get to offer that to you guys through our LaPorte Farmers Market and through our CSAs. And the CSA, if you haven't heard of that before, is a pretty cool program, because what it is you're buying into our farm basically. So it's community supported agriculture, and you put money towards the farm up front, and we use that money to help purchase seeds, to help purchase equipment, to help purchase whatever we need for the farm that year. And then sort of as a thank you for that, you get a share of the bounty throughout the summer. So we have around a 20-week growing season, and every week by purchasing into the CSA, you get a box of produce each week, which is kind of a cool thing. Let's see, what kinds of things have you learned over the years? What changes have you made? Oh my gosh, we've made a whole bunch of changes. So like I said, we started on a little less than 1/4 of an acre. We're on a little over an acre now. And I think just making our practices more efficient has been a big part of it. So I just kind of laugh thinking back to that first year and some of the things that we did. Like for in our garden bed, I tried to kind of section out with string where our different beds would be, and that just ended up being a total mess. And we didn't have we didn't look into soil health all that much. I mean, we started with pretty good soil, but we didn't really add too much to it other than manure in the fall. And so now the area that we're at, this little over an acre area, it was actually maintained before by my dad-in-law, Dale Tuholski, who's awesome. If you don't know him, he actually won, I think it was the Farmer of the Year award, or the Conservation Farmer of the Year award back in 2008, maybe? Through the LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District. So he takes really good care of his land. So now that we have that land, we've been trying to do the same with it and really take care of it. And so some things that we've added over the years are we do row covers now with plastic mulch. So we use this black plastic mulch to cover the soil. And if you go onto the Tuholski Produce Facebook page, I've actually got a quick video of what that looks like. But that's a really good way to protect the soil as well, because it holds in soil moisture, it holds in nutrients. We can run drip line under it, so we're saving water. We're not having to do any sort of like overhead watering. And it also warms the soil, so we can get our crops out a little bit earlier because the soil is warmer, which is pretty cool. And then let's see, what else has changed? I think just kind of like how we take care of the produce after we harvest it, and we're really ramping that up this year too. We're hoping to have sort of all of our, I guess, processing, like the washing and stuff of the produce out at the farm site, so that we don't have to haul it back to our house and process it here and then store it. We're kind of hoping to do everything out there just to maintain that efficiency. So I think that's going to be really great for this year. Typical costs for the CSA program. Oh, how do you get involved with our CSA? So we have a website, tuholskiproduce.com. So if you go there, you can read up just about our history a little bit and about our CSA and learn a little bit more about what a CSA is. But we have two different types of CSAs this year. We have our regular CSA, which is a half bushel box, and you get one of those every week. That's around $400. And then we have a smaller version, which is the same size box, but it's about halfway to 3/4 of the way full. And that one is around $300. So you're getting fresh produce weekly, and it's a wide variety of fresh produce. It just is whatever is available for harvest that week, which is kind of cool because you know, it's going to change throughout the season. So you're able to eat locally, eat seasonally, which I think is pretty neat. Okay, let's see if I'm missing any other questions here. Let's see, Mark had a question about the cool machine with the plastic tubes. Is that the plastic mulch? Or are they for weed control or to heat up the soil? Okay, yes. So if you go to our Facebook page and look at the plastic mulch being laid, it does have its own special tool that's used to actually lay down that plastic mulch, and you hook it up to a tractor. There is a spool of drip line up above it, and the drip line is where the water comes out of, so that's how we irrigate our crops. So the drip line is laid underneath this plastic mulch, and you've got like the plastic mulch here, and then there's dirt that's pushed up on the sides of the plastic mulch. I wish I were out at the farm to actually show you right now. But the cool thing about that is it does a lot of different things. So it heats up the soil, so we're able to get crops out there sooner. And we actually, well, some of this stuff isn't totally frost hardy, so we will be, a lot of the stuff that I showed you guys from the greenhouse, we will be getting that out probably towards the end of April, which is around when our last frost date is. A lot of stuff we did direct seed already. We're not using plastic mulch for that, but stuff that is frost hardy, you can get that seeded pretty early. But back to the mulch though. So yes, so it's really good for heating up the soil. It's really good for weed control. It's biodegradable, so throughout the season it's gonna wear down. And we actually won't have to clean it up at the end of the year, which is kind of nice, because for a lot of farmers, when you get the mulch that isn't biodegradable, that's a whole lot of plastic that can't really be recycled. So it just has to be thrown out, which is unfortunate. I also talked about how it's really good for retaining soil moisture and for nutrients as well. So I'm super excited that we're doing more of those this year. We're actually going to have about 25 rows of plastic mulch. Let's see, how do you handle pests like aphids in your greenhouse? We actually haven't had any issues with pests, so we haven't had to spray anything. We haven't had to bring in other beneficial insects like ladybugs to work with the aphids. Hi Colton! Colton Sellers, one of my students, is on, so that's exciting. Yeah, so we thankfully haven't had any issues so far in the greenhouse, but I guess we'll deal with that if and when it happens. Let's see, does anybody else have any questions about the greenhouse or about what we're doing out in the fields or about CSAs or anything like that? About soil? Colton could probably tell you a lot about soil. He was in my class, so we spent a long time on that. I'm trying to think of what else that I can tell you guys. Let's see. Oh, some stuff that we want to do around here, just around our own yard to be more sustainable, is we want to start a pollinator prairie in our backyard. So we're going to be planting a bunch of native plants, probably working with the Soil and Water Conservation District to do that, and putting in some walking paths, and really just sort of making our backyard like a little haven for pollinators. Clara and I are going to do a soil food web lab soon. How do you guys increase your soil biology? We do use compost, so there's a lot of good stuff in compost that you can get into your soil when you use compost on your soil, and then the manure and stuff like that helps a lot too. So we have a compost pile in our backyard that we used on our smaller garden, so we're trying to figure out how to do that kind of on a larger scale this year, now that we're over an acre. So we've got everything down on the land for this year already, but looking at next year and what we're going to do later this fall after everything's been harvested, you know, just kind of continuing to look into how we can have best practices for our farm, how we can become more sustainable, how we can add back to our soil, so that we can have the best possible plants. Another really cool thing about small farms and local farms is that you have reduced transportation costs. So you think about where your food comes from. You know, a lot of our food comes from warmer regions, so places like California, places down south, other countries. You think about the cost that it gets to transport all that food to us. You know, they've got to harvest it and then put it on trucks, and you usually have to harvest it early so that it's actually ripe by the time it's getting to the grocery store. Whereas on our farm, when we're doing our CSAs or our farmers market, we are harvesting our stuff on Friday, and then we're getting it to you guys on Saturday. And it's literally us, the farmer, bringing it to you. So kind of that whole middle process is cut out, which is pretty neat. Let's see, how many weeks of deliveries does the payment for the CSA program cover? So our CSA lasts for 20 weeks, and that's approximately June through the end of October. Last year it was kind of weird because we didn't get started until mid-June just because of the strange cold weather that we had. But this year it looks like so far we're off to a better spring, so we're hoping early June to get our CSA going. When would we have to sign up for the CSA by? And would we have to pick it up weekly? So we are currently still doing CSA signups. I actually have 2 CSA signups left. We are capping it at 25 this year, which is actually a lot more than we had last year. We only had like 15 last year, and then we had 2 that were half-season CSAs. We're not doing the half season anymore, but like I had mentioned, we're doing the regular boxes and then we're doing the smaller boxes. So if you've got a decent sized family, like if you've got 3 or more people in the household, the regular size box would probably be good for you. The smaller size box is more of an individual size, so better for individuals, or maybe if you just want to try something out. But we do weekly pickups at the little Porte Farmers Market, and that's free, or you can pick up at the farm, which is free, or we do deliveries for a small fee. And we have different fees for if you're within 5 miles from the farmers market, within 10 miles, or within 15 miles from the farmers market. So that's kind of cool. Pheasants Forever is involved with donating seeds for plots. Awesome. Yes, I know that's something that Mike was looking into, and he serves on the Soil and Water Conservation District Board, so he's definitely connected with that, and I think that would be awesome. Is there a menu to pick and choose what is received? No, there's not really a menu, but we have so much diversity in our crops that you're not often going to get the same things week after week after week. At the start of the season, kind of the cooler weather crops, we do have like a lot of lettuce and different types of lettuce, so you're going to get a lot of lettuce at the start of the season, but then as we move more into the warmer months of summer, you're not going to get so much lettuce. And you get our other 40 varieties of things that we have. One thing we are doing this year is I'm going to be sending out sort of a survey to CSA members to determine what they really love and what they really dislike, so that, say, if one week in the summer, maybe we've got an abundance of green beans and we also have, zucchini, but you really hate zucchini, we'll make sure to try and just give you some extra green beans if you're okay with green beans, or you love green beans but you hate zucchini. So we're gonna try and work around kind of people's likes and dislikes a little bit more this year than we did in the past. Soil health goals for your farm in the future. I think just doing more of what we're doing and figuring out how to do that more on a large scale, since we're continuing to expand and we're hoping to keep expanding. Not necessarily on the land that we have, but expanding in our use of that land and how to be the most efficient with the land that we have. So I guess that's kind of a goal for the upcoming year. And then I had mentioned the compost before, kind of figuring out how we can do that on a larger scale. Because we use the compost that we make, from the scraps of food and stuff that we have right now, but that doesn't create a whole lot of compost. So maybe figuring out where we can get more compost from to use that. Any other questions? If I've got people who have just joined us and maybe who missed the start, I'll show you once again what our greenhouse looks like, and just give you a quick tour. Ooh, cover crops here. So I'll just turn this and I'm gonna talk while you guys look at all the awesome produce. Yes, so that is something new that we're doing this year that we're super excited about, is cover crops. And between our rows of produce, we are going to have a cover crop mixture this year, and that is going to be a mixture of rye, vetch, clover, and radishes. So I'm super excited about that because cover crops are awesome, and they're a great way of maintaining our soil health, adding nutrients back into the soil, maintaining the water in the soil, the moisture level, and also helping to control weeds too. So we're super excited about that, and that'll be between our produce rows. Yeah, so these are all our new guys, the eggplants and the rhubarb, and then let's see, showed you guys all our peppers, which are finally starting to sprout up, as well as our tomatillos and some more peppers, and then all of our different tomato varieties. And so this greenhouse, I don't know if you can see that, it's a pretty decent size. It's 20 by 36, which is a good size for us, pretty manageable. One thing that we would love to do in the future is to be able to grow plant starters for people too. And we do, have some extra shelf space, so we could potentially do that now, but I think that would be a neat thing to do for people. Okay, let's see, what did I miss? Oh, yep, talked about cover crops. Workshop for small-scale farmers. That would be a neat thing, to host some kind of workshop. And the NWI Food Council, shout out to them because they're awesome. They do the farm hop tour every year. And I feel like in the past, we just felt like we weren't really big enough yet, or really didn't have everything together yet. But that's something that if we were asked this year, we would consider doing, because I do think it would be kind of a neat opportunity. Prep your soil for planting. So I talked about the soil prep a little bit before, and this should be, I think this video will stay on the site for a while. So if you guys missed anything, you can always go back and check that out a little bit more. But with the soil prep, we do soil testing in the fall, and then we add on manure in the fall, as well as I talked about the NutriPel, and we also add in a lot of different other stuff. NPK is a lot of what you hear, what soil needs. So you've got the nitrogen, you've got the phosphorus, you've got potassium. So what's really neat is that when they do the soil testing, so they analyze all the different soil and all the different fields, and this is, I'm talking about kind of now the large-scale Tuholski farms and how that works, but they convert everything to a soil map, so then when they're going around and applying what needs to be applied in the spring, you can see exactly how much needs to be applied. It almost looks like sort of a heat map. So you can tell, well, this area needs a higher application of potassium, or this area needs a higher application of phosphorus. So that's kind of cool to see. So we did do an application of those types of things on our small plot. And then I talked about too, just like adding in, some compost and things like that, which would be really good. Okay. Well, any other questions? We are almost at about 1:30 here. So unless you guys can think of anything else, we talked about a lot today, and as I mentioned, you guys can go back and check out this video. It should be up on the Soil and Water Conservation District page for a while, and I'll probably share it to my page, as well as the Tuholski Produce website. Pre-sprout seeds, or do they go straight into the trays? They go from the trays to the ground. So we seeded directly into the trays, and we did a couple different things. We direct seeded out into the field some of our plants for this year, or some of our seeds for this year, I should say. They're not plants yet. And we got a new seeder. It's a Jang seeder, and we absolutely love it. It's amazing. It is super efficient and cut down on our planting time by quite a bit. And then all this stuff here, we just seeded directly into the trays, and that's just been growing like this, and then we will transplant out from these trays into the black plastic mulch. So that should be pretty cool, and that will, like I said, be more towards the end of April, kind of once we're past that frost date. So all right, well, we are at 1:30, so Hey, thank you guys so much for joining me today, and for tuning in to Tuholski Produce and to the LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District. They've been doing some awesome stuff. So if you haven't checked out their Conservation Academy, please make sure that you do. They're doing awesome stuff with soil this week. They've done some cool stuff with birds and with water management. So make sure you guys look into that, and we'll keep this video up so you guys can go back and rewatch it if you want to see what we're doing with Tuholski Produce. And I hope you guys come out to the farmers market this summer. Check out tuholskiproduce.com if you want to read more about our CSAs and what we're doing with that. And I hope you guys are well, stay safe, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining. Bye.